let's just jump right into it. Tim Alberino, it's great to have you back again.
Great to be back.
And, of course, my lovely, beautiful wife.
I'm still here.
Yes, you're still here. Christina Peck, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Now, I had the pleasure to actually join you and Steve and Tom and, the whole crew at the Four Corners region, which was really interesting. What led, to just start off, what led you there to want to research that area?
Well, we were kind of following Tom's lead on the information that he was researching into the disappearance of the Anasazi. Mm-hmm. And we also were going down there to meet with some of the elders of the Pueblo nations and to talk to them about giants, stargates, and all things true legends.
Now, how does this connect with Sardinia? Because I remember the last time you were on when I think we were talking about Unholy Sea, and you said that in the third installment you're going back to Sardinia, and you said there was some really important stuff there. Yeah,
well, the way it connects is that the United States is, for those who are into the research of giants, the United States is very famous for the Smithsonian cover-up, in which the Smithsonian is implicated in a cover-up related to the bones of giants. Many people are familiar with the mound builders that once existed in the United States, and during the 19th century, the Smithsonian's activities coming and confiscating the bones of giants, even purchasing museums in order to confiscate certain bones and other artifacts relating to giants that were on display. And this is a very well-known situation that occurred in the United States. What's not well known is a situation akin to the Smithsonian Gate that is still occurring to this day on the island of Sardinia. Sardinia is west of mainland Italy. It's part of Italy, and it is it's very anomalous in terms of its history. Nobody really knows what the root race of Sardinia was. They refer to it as the Neuralgic civilization, and I think that we prove what that root race was in our film, but that's how it connects to what we're doing in the United States. The Smithsonian Gate we covered in our film, what's called Smithsonian Gate, the Smithsonian cover-up, and its correlation to this obscure place called Sardinia, which we now refer to as Ground Zero for giants. And there literally is evidence for a Holocaust of giants on the island of Sardinia, because there are possibly tens of thousands of, at least at one time, bones, skeletons, mummies of giant beings in between 9 and 15 feet tall.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Do you think that there are any connections between Sardinia and Atlantis?
Yeah, there's been some recent research done by some individuals from Italy in which they have rehashed an old idea, actually, that Sardinia may in fact have been the true location of Atlantis.
Really?
According to Plato's reference of Atlantis, his description of Atlantis in the Timaeus and Critias dialogue that Plato wrote, in which he describes in great length, in great detail, I should say, the configuration of Atlantis and some of the other details relating to Atlantis. Now, the big question is, where were the Pillars of Hercules located? The Pillars of Hercules represented the end of the known world, explored world in the time of the ancient Greeks. Many people believe that it was the Straits of Gibraltar, but today there's research surfacing that suggests that it may in fact have been the Strait of Sicily. And there's a lot of information regarding that. So if the Pillars of Hercules were not located at the Strait of Gibraltar, but instead were located at the Strait of Sicily, then when you come through the Strait of Sicily, right in front of you, what rises on the horizon, the only thing that rises on the horizon, is the island of Sardinia.
Wow.
That's just one reason why some people are beginning to consider, again, it's an old idea,
right,
but are reconsidering Sardinia for the true location of Atlantis. But there are many more. If you look at the legends of the Sardinians, the indigenous Sardinians, what are their legends? They are analogous with the legends of Atlantis. There were 10 kings, 10 giant kings, who ruled over a kingdom. Their father was a god, Poseidon, and they had a navy second to none. Their navy was, and their fleet was known throughout the world, and they sailed all over the earth. And from Sardinia, from their kingdom in Sardinia, they ruled over a great empire. And it goes on. It's a direct correlation with the legend of Atlantis. I mean, a direct correlation. And if you ask the old people who keep the legends, who keep the traditions in Sardinia about Atlantis, they don't know what you're talking about in many cases. They have no idea what Atlantis is. They're going to tell you the legend of their island, which is a legend of Atlantis.
Wow.
So, and then, of course, there's Sardinia is extremely anomalous. It is, in archaeological terms, there are over 30,000 megalithic stone towers called nuraghi on the island. Over 30,000.
Wow.
Some of these over 100 feet tall.
Wow.
Many of them are still buried beneath the earth. Some estimates say that there are over 50,000, but the conservative estimate, the one that you'll find in the museum in Sardinia, in the capital of Kajadi, there are 30,000. So that takes civilization. That takes ingenuity. That takes machinery. That takes
more than just farmers.
More than just farmers. You don't have a bunch of farmers. You can't farm and build 30,000 megalithic towers at the same time.
Right.
And there's reason to believe that these towers were not built to be defensive fortifications. There's good reason to believe that these towers had some kind of a ceremonial purpose related to what was buried beneath them.
Really?
What was beneath them and around them? The tombs of the giants.
Wow,
yeah, that was something I wanted to ask about too. Real quick before that, though, because I'm sure people at home are going to have this question. If there is a connection between Atlantis and Sardinia, what about the big catastrophe that Atlantis was supposed to undergo with sinking into the ocean?
Well, let me say this. There's a duality on the island of Sardinia that's very intriguing. I believe that in Sardinia, as many places in the world, we're looking at both post and pre-flood dynamics.
Oh, okay.
In other words, there's what I would consider to be, there's some very interesting pre-flood things going on in Sardinia, but then also there's some very evident post-flood things going on in Sardinia. So Atlantis tells the story, it encapsulates the story of the what I call the empire of the gods, the pre-flood world.
Now, that makes a lot of sense.
In which the gods mingle. I mean, the story of Atlantis, according to the Greeks, Poseidon was allotted to him, this area that had this island on it, this island of Atlantis, in which he built his city. But before he did that, he came and he took a human woman. He took her to wife, to wed, and he copulated with her and produced offspring with her. And guess what? The offspring were giants.
Wow.
And so there were 10 giant kings, and Atlas was their was the firstborn, and that's how Atlantis got its name, because of King Atlas, who ruled over the island. And again, the story of Atlantis is analogous with the legends of Sardinia. So it represents the pre-flood world, the story of Atlantis, and I think there's prophetic connotations to Atlantis as well.
Wow. Were there any eyewitnesses to these giants there in Sardinia?
That's the thing about Sardinia is if you talk about the Smithsonian Gate, the Smithsonian cover-up in the United States, there's nobody left alive that can tell you about when they dug up the bones in their backyard or in the mound that happened to be situated on their property. Whereas in Sardinia, there's still people alive who not only haphazardly came upon the bones of giants because they were plowing in their fields or exploring in one of the tombs or one of the nuraghi towers, but there's people who were actually hired by the municipality to go and to dig up the bones of giants at excavation sites, some of which are still going on to this day.
Wow.
And which we've been told by multiple people in Sardinia, they're still pulling the bodies of giants out of these. I mean, we're talking thousands of giants. That's why I refer to it as a Holocaust of Giants. And we don't know. There's this indication that these giants migrated over to Sardinia, to the island of Sardinia in a post-flood context, either before or during the conquest of Canaan by the Israelites.